Hey everybody, welcome to Trading Capital's daily live stream of the market open. Today is currently April 28th. It is the last session of the week and of the month. So we'll see what type of price action unfolds here. Right off the bat, we got PCE data, which spiked the dollar, spiked yields initially, caused the markets to sell off a little bit, but now the dollar has actually started to kind of topple over from the highs over here. It still is up 0.33% on the session. If you look at the daily chart though, it's come off the highs quite substantially. So you can see it's just really struggling at this clear resistance zone, but it is in the near term trying to break out. And I'm watching this very closely because if we can get back above this key level and start building a base to break out, the dollar may potentially move higher at some point. Right now it's kind of softened up, but still positive, holding this bullish consolidation. So we'll just have to pay attention to that. The spiders right now are slightly lower, gapping down just a little bit. The IWM is also gapping down just a little bit. Go figure. The one indice that's holding up the best is big cap tech. So I'm actually looking for a QQQ short today. I do like this 320 level. So I'm thinking of going to short the Qs at the open, just as a little bit of a day trade. I'm also looking at some longs here. We have net gapping completely lower, falling apart on us. The level I have on net, NET, is the ticker. Just give me 1 second here. So it's down just over 22% right now. The only level that I would play on net for a long day trade would be, just give me 1 second here, 42.40. So it's quite a ways away. It could get down there though. So I'm looking at 42.40 for a long on NET. It's trading at 46 right now. I'm also looking at pins. Pinterest is gapping down on earnings as well. So pins is interesting because there's some layered in support here, but the chart just went from 0 to 100 bearish pretty quickly. And the level I'm looking at on pins, it did hit around the 23.30 level in the pre-market, so I'm going to have to go a little bit lower around the 22.80 for a long trade. So 22.80 on a long pins trade. Lots of supports. Right now it's being sort of defended by the 200, but it actually came all the way down to this 23.30 in the pre-market, and it has bounced off of the lows quite nicely here. So it was down here. I would see it, let it flush, and we'll just take it from there. We're also looking at Amgen, AMGN, for a long trade. The level I like on Amgen, we're actually piercing this pivot low that we made this nice little reversal on. So pay attention to that because it is looking a little bit weak. It's not really holding its bounce. But the level on Amgen that I have isolated is basically 233 pierce. 233 pierce. That's the aggressive level. The more conservative level is 229.80. So kind of close proximity, two little levels. I'm also looking at Amazon for a long trade. Amazon gapped up in the pre-market quite substantially. Amazon was all the way up to, what was it? I think it was 122, 123 it gapped up to. And now it's reversed and went negative on the session off of its earnings. The level on Amazon that I have is 102.55. We're looking at PBR as well, Petrobras, gapping down. Just give me 1 second here. CP is also gapping. Intel's remaining strong, so it's lifting the semis. running a few quick calculations here as the markets are slightly moving. Alright, so we're also looking at Petrobras. PBR is the ticker. The level I have on PBR is 1024. $10.24 is basically trading right around this previous breakout zone. It's an aggressive level on Petrobras, and we have to really monitor oil. If oil starts to weaken, it could send this a little bit lower. So there's actually going to be a little bit more support at a pierce of $10. I like this level here even better, around 972. So we'll keep PBR on the radar as well. You can see that there should be some support here if it hits this trend line. So kind of confluencing between this upsloping trend line, this major breakaway gap. You also have another breakaway gap, consolidation, bearish consolidation, big breakdown, and then a bigger reversal to the upside. So this is where the institutions will be kind of defending this price action right around this confluence of area. Amazon I touched base on. STM is another one that I'm going to potentially look for a long trade on. It's not at the level yet. The level I like is 40.15 or lower. 40.15. So basically right around that 200 moving average. And then there is a gap fill down here that piques my interest. We're also looking at Intel. Intel's gapping up. So this one's going to be a short level on Intel. We may be able to play a potential long on Intel because it is acting well. It's trading at 31.62 right now, but 35, basically a pierce of 36, so it's quite substantially higher. But there's this multi-pivot zone consolidation, and it may coincide with this upsloping trend line. That'll be some decent resistance as well. So the Qs are slowly starting to roll a little bit. Let's keep that pins on the radar again. Alright, so to sum things up again, we're keeping Pinterest on the radar for a long trade. 22.75 is the first support, and then around this 22.10 is another additional support. So in around this confluence, obviously Net, Amgen is on the radar as well. Intel for a short. Let's take a look at CP. That one's gapping up slightly, but it is pulling in. Did have a big miss on earnings. But if CP starts to come all the way down into this pivot zone in a straight shot flush around 72.02, maybe even at that whole number 72, we can go long CP. So there's quite a little bit of stocks to watch on the radar. Probably the closest one is going to be pins, so we'll keep pins on the radar. Oh yeah, and First Solar is also under pressure today. So First Solar, the only level I really like is if we came right into this pivot around 169. Maybe if the market's firmed up, maybe this pivot low, this breakaway gap window. We'll keep that on the radar. We also had natural gas make a big pop, and then it gave back all of the gains. So I'm going to keep my eye on natural gas for a bullish pattern. It was up almost 8% and it's given back everything. So if we look for a potential bullish pattern intraday, we could potentially go long nat gas. But that's a nasty little pullback. But it's still trying to break out of this potential downsloping trend line here. Kind of got rejected, but it doesn't mean it's done. It's still up on the session, but we'll see. QQQ is under a little bit of pressure. The Q's for a short, basically anything back above this 320.84 level, I will be interested in a potential short. Alright, so I'm watching Amgen and pins closely, and obviously Amazon. Those are the main ones I'm watching closely. We do have some more consumer sentiment data coming out at 9:45 and 10, so pay a close attention to that. Spiders are just pulling off the highs. Our markets are open in about 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Nvidia's pulling off the highs. Alright, markets are open. Spiders, big gap down on the spiders. Now it's a big push up on the Qs. Buy the dippers are coming in once again. Nvidia's gone green. Pins is coming down some more, guys. It's not at the level yet. Spiders are under a little mesh. Meta's starting to get some weakness. Apple new high. Apple's surging up. Tesla's surging. Microsoft's pushing up from the gap. Amazon's still weak. Pins is still coming down, guys. Let pins fall. We also have net now down 25%. First Solar's also coming down, so I'm watching that closely. But right now, it's just Amgen's on the radar. Pins. The QQQ is an interesting short right now. I'm going to pick up some QQQ short. Alright guys, I just went short the Qs here. 320.65. 320.65, 16 position. Alright, we're getting a nice pullback in the Qs. Alright guys, I'm covering the Qs here at 320.10. It's a 55-cent gain. 320.10. 320.10. Out of the Qs. Alright, let's see what else we can get. Pinterest is still coming down. First Solar's coming down. Amgen's also coming down. Microsoft had a big reversal. Take a look at Microsoft. Full disclosure, I still hold Microsoft short. Basically, we got filled and brought up our average to about 302.60. So we are out of the money on Microsoft. But we'll watch that closely. Spiders are catching a little bit of a bid. Amazon's starting to roll a little bit more. Alright, Pins is now coming down. Pins is coming down, guys. Keep that closely on your radar. Natural gas is still under pressure. XOM has had a big push. KRE's getting a big push. Pinterest is still coming down. Let it fall. First Solar's also still under pressure. Gilead's coming down. QQQ's starting to roll over heavy here, guys. So that's being led by Microsoft. MSFT is falling sharply lower. Tesla's starting to roll over. Amazon's also seeing weakness. Amgen's almost at our first little level. I may wait because the markets are looking a little bit more fragile here. Just a tiny bit fragile. KRE's acting well. XOM is pushing higher. Look at that surge on XOM. Wow. If XOM comes up into double top, we can short XOM. But I prefer to really stick with the plays that I have isolated. I didn't do too much work on XOM. Microsoft's looking heavy here. Coinbase is under pressure as well. We'll see what type of action we get. Amazon's also coming down now. Apple's getting a reversal from the highs. Spiders are still acting well though. The spiders is clearly where the strength are lying. There's pressure on techs. Still watching Amgen. I'm still watching Amazon. Pinterest. Amazon's now down 3.22%. Microsoft's rolling heavy. Pinterest is getting a small bounce. Net is still coming down. First Solar's interesting right now. It's hitting that first little technical area. Look at First Solar. So I'm not going to play it yet. But I am intrigued. I am certainly intrigued. Spiders are still, so the Qs are acting weak today. KRE's getting a big bounce, which is why the spiders are seeing a big push. Amgen's also coming back down. So Apple's seeing some distribution. Look at this First Solar stock. Look at this First Solar coming down. First Solar at this gap looks intriguing. Even here looks pretty enticing for a little bit of a long bounce. But it's exceptionally weak right now. And we'll see if it comes down. So the Qs are starting to roll heavy here. QQQ's starting to roll heavy. Microsoft's bouncing. Apple's seeing a little bit of distribution. Tesla has rolled over. Look at Snapchat. Let's see what Snap's doing. Very minuscule bounce. Intel's up substantially. Seeing a little bit of distribution though. Qs are catching a little bit of a bounce. So pins hitting that pre-market. We still want it a little bit lower. I'm still watching that very closely here on Pinterest. Net is still coming down. Qs are still acting pretty heavy here. Spiders are still holding up. So if we start getting a sell in the Qs and the spiders simultaneously, you could see a bigger move down. Pinterest is still falling ever so sharply. XOM has pulled off the highs, so now this is where we may see the spiders also start to break down. Amgen's hitting first technical support, but I'm not long yet. I'll let you know. Natural gas is also rolling over again under pressure. Take a look at the QQQ here. That's slowly starting to roll over. Spiders are what's keeping this market up right now. Pinterest is still falling, guys. Let's be patient on this. Meta's still positive, holding up. Tesla's rolling over. Microsoft's getting a big push. Take a look at Amazon. Amazon's coming down. Big mover as well as Comcast, CSA. That one's pushing up. Let me just see if I have a level on Comcast. Most people are going to be sitting at that gap fill. I do not like that. Still watching pins fall. Qs have got to bounce. Spiders have almost filled their gap. I do like this 42.20 level on Comcast for a short if we were to get up there. So Pinterest is still coming down. It's hitting its pre-market lows here, but we wanted a little bit lower than pre-market. Wow, look at Microsoft. Microsoft is blasting, just made a new high. And that money looks like it's rotating firmly out of Amazon. Amazon's now down 4.14. Net's down 27. First Solar's down 11. Snap is down 19. Tesla's down 1.3. Pins is starting to get closer, guys. Definitely be ready for pins. It's getting close to the level. It's getting very close to the level. Now Nvidia is starting to roll over. Alright, so pins just hit that pre-market low. Amazon's still coming in. Tesla's still coming in now. The dollar might be trying to catch a small little bounce here. Alright guys, pins is coming up into a level. There's two support levels. I'm going to go lighter share size because the volume, yep, it's over 1.5 million. That's good to see, but the QQQ is weak right now. So pins is coming up into support now, guys. Qs are rolling heavy here. Qs are just rolling over, but I'm going to go long at this 22.79 level on pins. You can see we're getting a small bounce ahead of time. Qs just rolled over. Pretty big rollover on the Qs. Amazon's coming down sharply lower now. First Solar still might be a potential play. Net's still on watch. Alright, pins is bouncing, so I'm going to have to lower this level a little bit. 22.60 now. 22.60 because we got a small little bounce there. Qs are rolling over hard here. Apple's basically gone negative. Amazon's coming up into a level as well, guys. Watching Amazon very closely. Microsoft, big reversal coming in. Qs are looking heavy. They are falling. So Qs are getting a small bounce here. Pins is getting a decent bounce. Keep Amazon on watch here. Keep AMZN on watch. Actually, we'll keep the spiders here. We'll pull up. Amazon needs to flush a little bit more, guys. First Solar's coming up into that big gap level. I do like it down there. If we get a First Solar flush down to a Pierce of 170, we will play First Solar. I repeat, keep First Solar window open. Amazon still needs to go a bit lower. Spiders are holding up relatively well. First Solar's coming up. Pins has got a decent bounce off that level, so that definitely needs to go lower. So First Solar's coming in, Amazon's coming in. That's still coming in. First Solar's coming down more, guys. Keep First Solar window open. I am intrigued about that for a potential long. Dollar's starting to catch a small little bid here. Qs are rolling a little heavier here. The dollar is catching a small bounce. Amazon's catching a small bounce. Nvidia's went negative, so Nvidia's now seeing some weakness. Pinterest, First Solar are still on watch, guys. Bitcoin's starting to look a little top heavy, but the regionals are looking well. VIX is still down. T-Mobile's down. Intel's still remaining strong. Spiders have caught a bid along with the Qs. First Solar's coming potentially into play here, guys. Do a net check. That one's had a little bit of a bounce right before our level, so that one's kind of off the table. Let's check coin here. Coin's under pressure, down 3.45. Pins is bouncing. Spiders are just holding on to some positive gains. Qs have got a bounce. Let's do a sympathy check here on Enphase. Obviously Enphase had its big collapse. It's down as well. Let me see if there's an interesting level here on Enphase. Enphase is more oversold than First Solar. Yeah, you are coming up into a little bit of a reversal level here on Enphase. Spiders are pushing up. New highs on the spiders. Can't just keep these markets down. It's wild. XOM is rolling over, so now Mega Cap Tech is getting a buy the dip bounce here. A big buy the dip bounce on Mega Cap Tech. Regional banks are performing pretty well today. QQQ, massive bounce in the Qs here. Massive bounce in the Qs. Massive bounce in the spiders. Wow. Russell's now leading IWM. That's breaking out here because of the KRE. So it looks like they want to put this market in a rally mode here. FSLR is still on watch, guys, but it is getting a bounce with this market. Let's see if we can get one more little flush on pins. First Solar. But as of now, they're surging higher. Spiders just pierced and made a high. Microsoft's pushing back up again, so is Apple. Spiders pushing up, big push on the Qs. Big push on the Qs. S&P's getting a nice big boost here. Let's take a look at quick peek at Snap. That's got a bounce. Net, it's getting a small bounce. That still hasn't hit our level. ENPH is getting a little bit of a bounce. Spiders are trying to flush back to the negative side. Pins is bouncing ahead of our level. Still valid, but a little bit lower on pins now. I'd have to go 2250. They've bounced Amazon as well. We'll see though. There's data coming out in a few minutes at 10. We got the Chicago PMI that came in hotter than expected, which actually lifted the 2-year yield. So let's see what the dollar can do. Let's see if the dollar gets a move off of the low with the 2-year yield, because the 2-year yield was under a lot of pressure this morning, and now it's had a big move off the lows. Alright, First Solar's coming down, guys, so FSLR is on play here. FSLR. Keep FSLR on play, on deck. I'm very intrigued about that play. I may take it a little bit earlier than the gap because it is getting pretty oversold here. So I'm looking at around maybe a pierce of 170. The gap's at around 169.25 or so. Microsoft's pushing higher. Wow, Microsoft new 52-week high. Probably trading at now 34 times earnings. On a multi-trillion-dollar company never ends well. I will warn you. Pinterest is bouncing. XOM's pulled off of the highs. Now the mega cap tech is back in full force rally mode. Let's take a look at the QQQs for another short trade. If the Qs push up to about 320.30, we can short it again. 320.30, I'll look to short the Qs again. First Solar's getting a small bounce. Meta's starting to curl over to the downside slightly. Ever so slightly. If Microsoft pierces 307, I'll look to short it. Add to my short. Meta's starting to curl over. Gilead's coming down. Amgen never hit our level. Tesla's looking a little weak. The heck is this Meg L? That one's pulled off pretty substantially. Google's looking weak right now. Strength is purely really coming from Microsoft, which there's rumors that Microsoft's going to be the company to overtake Apple and surpass. There's some plausibility there. There is some plausibility there. That's for sure. But still a concentration of capital is primarily in mega cap tech. The big question is, will we see any of that capital rotate into smaller caps? Still watching First Solar and pins. They haven't quite hit the level yet, but I am interested in both of them. Qs are now starting to show some weakness. Dollar's still trying to creep back up. Alright guys, I'm going to add to my Microsoft short. Oh, didn't hit 307, just a penny shy. It's okay. Gold is pulling off the highs. Bitcoin's still under pressure. Alright, I just shorted Microsoft 307.15. 307.15. And it is pushing up even more now. So it brings my average up to 304.10. Obviously we are out of the money, but that's okay. QQQs are pushing up. Take a look at these Qs again. Qs had a pretty big bounce and now trying to roll over. FSLR is getting a bounce before our level. People front running. Pinterest didn't quite hit our level. That's what happens sometimes though. Nvidia trying to stay strong. Amazon's still weak. Still like Amazon around this 102.50 area. 102.50 area. And T-Mobile is another earnings play that is just getting decimated right now. Let me see if it's hitting the daily 200. Let me look on the weekly chart quickly. Yeah, if it flushes into this 141.86 level, that weekly 50, pierce of that gap fill. I do like T-Mobile at that level. So keep TMUS on radar. MSFT's catching another little bid, trying to remain strong. Apple's pushing up. Qs are pushing up. Spiders are acting well. Still positive on the session. The Qs are just slightly negative. Regional banks are holding up well. We'll see if they can hold on to their gains today. Regional banks. It'll be an interesting thing. Meta's rolling over, curling over pretty sharply here on Meta. That's testing the pivot lows from yesterday, so if it takes out that pivot low, I mean, we could see a bigger sell on Meta come into fruition. That's going to be a big level to watch on Meta. We'll see. Keep that on radar. Nothing else that's catching my eyes just yet. First Solar has bounced. Pins has bounced a little bit. Apple's bouncing. Pretty much the whole market has bounced. Amgen's still a little weak. Just the one trade right now. Obviously we have a Microsoft short, which is kind of acting more like a swing right now. We'll see if Microsoft can hold on to its gains. It's been a leader. I'm also looking at natural gas here. It's potentially trying to put in some bullish consolidation to move higher. I'm actually intrigued about maybe going along the UNG here. Let's go to a little bit of a larger term time frame. I'm going to go long UNG with a tight stop loss. Basically, let me just clear this all up here. I'm going to pick up some UNG here at 695. 695 long UNG. 1/4 position. I'll add if it flushes down to 690. And then 682. And then my stop loss will be basically a close below this intraday 50. So I'm long the UNG at 695. So keep UNG on the radar. Microsoft's pulling in from the highs of its chart, but still acting extremely well. Spiders are also trying to push up a little bit more now. Alright, UNG is trying to catch a small bid. Still hanging in there. First Solar's caught a bid. Pinterest is coming back down. So because we got a little bit of minor consolidation on Pinterest, going to have to adjust this level just a tiny bit lower. 22.45. 22.45. I like Pinterest now. Spiders are coming in a little bit more now, so are the Qs. Pins is coming in a little bit sharper now, guys, so keep that on the radar. Qs are starting to roll over. Big sell candle on the Qs. Pins is coming back down, guys. So is Microsoft. That was a decent little short level on Microsoft. Spiders are still positive. Qs are negative. Russell's positive. Intel's still up 6.7. Snap's down 19. Amazon's down 4.3. I like Amazon around that 102.55. UNG, we're up a few pennies now on that trade, in the money 3 cents, so this one could actually break out to the upside. It's looking pretty promising. Pinterest getting a small bounce. Qs are starting to roll over a little heavier now. The dollar's getting a little bit of a bid here, guys, so this might put pressure on the indices. Meta's testing that major pivot. Meta's testing that major pivot break. We'll see if it can get a close below there. They're defending it right now. But keep pins on the radar. I do like that one for a long. UNG, we're in the money 3 cents now. That's perking up just a tad. Spiders are pushing up. Michigan consumer expectations came in lower than expected, but the current conditions for the Michigan report came in better than consensus. So that's pretty much going to sum that up there. Qs are getting a little bit of a bounce here. UNG's fading. Pins level still valid, guys. It's coming down. It's coming down. But the spiders are holding up and acting resilient. And the question is, can they hang on to those gains throughout the whole day? Banks are acting well, so potentially they can. KRE's trying to make another push higher. Apple's pushing up, so that's going to lift the whole market, the S&P. And it's now the highest ever on record. Two companies, Apple and Microsoft, have a 14% weighting in the S&P. I mean, a 14% weighting is just astronomically high. That is way too much concentration. And I mean, if and here's the thing about capital being so concentrated in two companies out of 500. When you think about the S&P, it's 500 companies, and two of them have 14% of the weighting. I mean, if that leaves the market in a very, very vulnerable, not really a diversified, hedged spot. And typically when you see that throughout market cycles in history, when the markets have that much concentration in just a few companies, you often see a significant decline take place that creates this snowball effect theory that when all investors start rushing through the door, it creates this big mass panic selling. All right, Pinterest is coming back down, guys. Pinterest is hitting a key support now. It actually is hitting my first level of support at 2277 that I had earlier on the chart, but I said because we consolidated, we want to go a little bit lower. But this white line was my first level of support. But because we got a minor consolidation, we need to just take it a little bit lower. Spiders are perking up. UNG's back under pressure. You can see how that first level of support that I issued there's some buyers sitting there. But it's a little bit riskier buying there because of that consolidation. But the spiders are helping. The spiders pushing up are definitely helping this market. First Solar's really still on watch. KRE's still on watch. Qs are bouncing. Dollars softening. Wow, big push on the Qs here, guys. Big push on the Qs. But Google's acting weak. Interesting to see Google not participating in this QQQ rally. Microsoft and Apple are pushing back up. Just complete resiliency in the mega caps. No stopping them. So Pins is getting a small bounce. Take a look at the Qs. Big bounce here on the Qs. And that's primarily just because of Apple pushing up and Microsoft pushing up. So we may have a QQQ short again. Now hitting that, but because we consolidated, I want it a little bit higher again. Around 320.50, I will potentially short the Qs. But the volume is starting to get a little bit lighter. Apple's pushing up, trying to make a new high on the day. Hasn't yet, but trying. Nvidia is now pushing up. No stopping these mega caps. They just keep surging higher and higher and higher. Nvidia is pushing up. Apple's testing the highs of the chart. Apple is testing the highs. Wow, big push on the spiders now. Spiders are surging higher. Spiders are surging higher. Just see here if we have an S&P short level. S&P short level around 4. Just give me a sec here. 414.20. 414.21 is an S&P short level. UNG is still just hovering around our entry level. A little bit of backing and filling taking place. Nvidia is pushing up. Alright, UNG's perking up here, guys. UNG is perking up. So that's good to see. We're now trying to break above that previous intraday high. And I think we can get a move all the way back up to 714. Maybe even back up to 720. Qs are acting well still as well. Q short is at double top. Really, that's going to be the only level now. I don't like that previous level I gave, because I'm seeing Microsoft pushing. Pinterest, big bounce. Unfortunately, that's a big bounce on Pinterest. Qs are pushing. Market resiliency still taking hold. Interesting to see gold and silver just slightly weak. And the spiders are getting a big push higher here. So 414.20 we can short the spiders or double top on the Qs. Big push in the markets. Squeeze is coming. Wow. These markets are resilient. New high on Nvidia, new high on Microsoft, new high on Apple. Everything is squeezing. Squeezing. Qs, spiders. Spiders are coming up into that level. I'm not going to short. I'll short the Qs until when the spiders hit that 414.20 level. So I'm not yet. I'm waiting for the spiders to hit that 414.20 level. But it's very intriguing. UNG's surging higher now too. That was a big push in the markets. Meta really didn't participate in that though. So Meta's still down 0.5%. Nothing wrong with Meta yet. It's just really just consolidating. Amgen had a big bounce. Let's take a look at the rest of the semis like Intel. Intel's pulled off the highs. Let's look at Micron. Micron's an interesting potential short as well, but it's putting in bullish consolidation. Spider and Q short is still on the table, guys. Spider and Q short is still on the table. Guys, get ready to short the Qs here. Get ready to short the Qs. I'm still... Alright, I'm short the Qs here. 320.99. 320.99. 320.99. 1/6 position. 320.99. Next ad level will basically be about 50 cents higher. Nvidia is surging higher, so is Microsoft. Nice little pullback coming into the market. Qs are still acting well. Apple new highs. And Microsoft new 52-week high. Apple new 52-week high. UNG is still in the money. Markets are still acting very well here, trying to push higher. Next short level on Microsoft is a Pierce of 308. Pierce of 308, and it's looking like it might get there. Spiders are still hitting that 414.20 level. Pins is coming back down. Markets have had a strong opening. We'll see if they hold these gains. Qs are pulling in from the highs. Natural gas is coming in a little bit. Spiders are pulling in off of that level. But the markets have gone parabolic. They are extended to the extremes. You have Meta trading at a 4 standard deviation. You have Microsoft trading at a 3 standard deviation. Apple's getting boost. Look at this push in the markets on the Qs. Wow. Qs are pushing back up. Spiders are still pushing back up. Big push. Market participants are in a new bull market. Alright, I just added to my Microsoft short here at 308.07. 308.07. Brings it up to 305.31. Let's look at the Qs here. Dollar still softening. Meta's had a big bounce, so UNG trade is acting well. What I'm going to recommend now is, since we're in the money about 9 cents, I'm going to protect the trade here with a break-even stop loss. Nvidia's pushing up. Qs are still pushing up. This market is in a full-on squeeze. Seems like a new bull market is back on. Gold is selling off. Alright, Pinterest is coming back down, guys. So keep pins on the radar for a long. I still like Pinterest. I'm going to add to the Qs at 321.50. Apple new 52-week high. Piercing, heading to that 170 number. Wow. Massive push in Apple. Pins is still coming down. Qs are pushing back up, guys. Regionals are still acting very well. Spiders are still at that resistance, that 414.20. The Qs are acting well because of Microsoft and Apple. And obviously Nvidia now perking up. Meta's catching a bid. So Qs are pushing up again. Coming up into that double top, almost a breakout zone. Spiders are now pushing higher. No real selling yet. End of the month squeeze as we head into May. Nvidia is now softening up. Apple's still at the highs of the session. Tesla's at the highs of the session. Microsoft's near the highs. A little bit of weakness now coming into the Qs, just very minor though, very, very minor. And they just seem to be getting bought right back up. Pinterest is coming back down, guys. So I'm intrigued at a Pinterest long level here. It's approaching. Qs are now rolling over just a tad. Qs are rolling over just a tad. Keep Pinterest on the radar, guys. I'm watching Microsoft as well. That's pulling in just a little bit. QQQ. Softening just a little bit as well. There's our first little level. Pinterest is trying to bounce as well. Spiders are pulling off of the highs. UNG natural gas is putting in some little bit of minor bullish consolidation. Pinterest is getting a bounce here. MPC or NHC? Alright, I'm going to put a break or move my stop up to about 698 on UNG just so I lock in about 3 cents times 2,000 shares. It's a starter position, but 698 I'm putting a break even stop just so I lock in some gains. Microsoft's continuing to push up, no real selling pressure. The QQQ is also continuing to push up. Alright guys, I'm just going to add to my Qs here at 321.50. I just added there 321.50. 321.50. $321.24 is the new average. Pinterest is still on watch, guys. It's coming back down. Pins is coming back down. Spiders obviously are still trading at that resistance, but trying to pierce above. Qs are pushing up again. First Solar still on watch. Look at Microsoft go. This is a beast. 309.07, the next level on Microsoft. QQQ, another squeeze coming. It's looking like another trend day to the upside, but again, this is dangerous because the markets are so extended. I mean, even if you're a fundamental person, on a technical basis, the markets are extended. On a fundamental basis, the markets are extended. That's for sure. But it is the end of the month. Could just window dress it higher. Pinterest hasn't come down to our level. That's still just hovering. So spiders are coming up into a little bit more of a resistance level here, double top, trying to end the month on a high here. We'll see if it can. The volume's fairly light today as well, so we'll respect that. UNG, we're still holding our UNG. Gold is softened up. All the yields have pretty much collapsed on the long and short end, which is why tech is probably rallying here. There is a QQQ gap fill around 322.85 that maybe the Qs want to hit. Markets have had definitely a very strong open. A very, very strong open. So barely any red candles on the S&P and the NASDAQ. It's just been going one-way direction. Straight shot higher. Keep Microsoft on watch here. Qs are also pushing up. Microsoft's pushing up. Apple's acting resilient. Dollar's trying to see if it's testing that double bottom zone. Dollar's trying to get a little bit of a bounce. So Qs are starting to roll over just a tad. Nothing crazy yet. Markets are still acting well and strong. Apple's still surging. So it's now that 10:30 time frame. Markets have not had a single red candle on the S&P. They've just pushed higher, and that's coming on the back of yesterday's massive squeeze. So that's certainly interesting to note. UNG is just putting in sideways consolidation to potentially move higher. On the hourly chart, the spiders have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight hours. Really intriguing to watch the spiders. I mean, if this isn't overbought, I don't know what is. Look at that rip-roaring rally. That's not really healthy. That's just a straight rocket ship up into resistance. But as of now, they're squeezing this market higher. Pins never quite satisfied our level and got a pretty decent bounce. QQQ's starting to come in a little bit more now. So the price action in tech is softening up just a tad. Qs are coming in a little bit more. We're now basically in the money on our Qs. Let's see if we get a late day flush. Regional banks are softening up. Alright, so Qs, we're now in the money on the Qs. Let's see if we can get some more downside. I'm looking for a cover, a retrace back to these previous consolidation highs. So basically a 50-cent gain on the Qs, that's what I'm looking for. FRC has just been halted. I got a halt notification here on FRC. So right ahead of the weekend. Big dump, and now they've halted it. So that's why the KREs took a bit of a sell there. Let's do a Russell check, IWM. That's come in a little bit. Take a look at Microsoft. That's come in a little bit as well. So if there's another regional systemic issue in the banks, that's going to be interesting to see. take a look at gold. Gold is caught in a little bit of a pop there. So the inverse move of the KRE, you can see the money's flowing right back into gold. Let's do a silver check. SLV also catching a small bid. So pay attention to that FRC. I mean, I'm trying to see if there's any news. I haven't got anything on the news wire yet, but I am paying a close attention to it. But gold is definitely catching a bid here. Spiders are still acting very, very strong. Amazon's down 3.4. Snapchat's still down 18. Intel's still up 6. Tesla's up 0.8. So it seems like healthcare is trying to break out of a little flag pattern here. Maybe we're seeing some money rotate out of tech into healthcare. That'll be interesting to pay attention to. So we're basically flat on our QQQ short. We're flat on that short. Spiders are still holding up. Apple's really the strong horse today, really keeping this market from falling over. Coin is still acting poorly. Microsoft's starting to come in a little bit more. New highs in some of the home builders. Those stocks are just insanely powerful. So Microsoft's starting to come in now. It'll be, imagine Microsoft goes negative. That would be pretty crazy. For Microsoft to go negative from this point on, we're talking about a 1% decline from current levels. Puts us basically down to I'll make a little bit of a note here. So if Microsoft goes negative today, it has to hit this 304.60. Pay close attention to that. So spiders are seeing a little bit more selling now. Meta is coming back down, testing those lows. So they defended it once. Let's see if we get it again. FRC gap down again, now down 23%. Wow, so it has halted, then it gapped down. So it's looking like there's some news there that they're potentially going to be taken under, bought out. So Qs, get ready for the Qs. I'm going to be looking to cover my short at the Qs. Spiders are coming in heavier now. KRE's rolling off a cliff. Natural gas is still hanging in there nicely. So now there's news, guys. Now there's news. All right, I just covered my Qs here. 320.68. That's a nice 50-cent gain. 50-cent gain on the Qs. Times 200 shares. So that's one. Let's manage this Microsoft now, which I think could also go negative. We'll keep an eye on the spiders as well. Pinterest is still in play. Look at these Qs. They even went lower. But I'm out of the Qs for now. Big sell-off though. That was a big sell-off. Right when they squeeze people up, get them enticed as if we're in a new bull market, and then they rip it down on them. It's pretty wild price action, but FRC just got demolished, absolutely demolished. Qs are starting to roll over, Microsoft's starting to roll over. Pinterest is back in play now for a long trade, but I want it lower considering we bounced there. Now I want it around this 22.25, 22.11, basically around there. So the KREs are back under pressure. Let's take a look at PNC. That's rolling over slightly. KRE. Let's do JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citi. Interesting. Russell. The Russell's interesting. That took a big dive. It was leading. So imagine the Russell goes negative. There's a buyable level on the Russell. If it was to flush into this pivot zone over here, you can see this high over here. This low bounce, this low bounce. If we get a flush into that, I will consider going long the Russell. Qs are getting a small bounce here. Very small bounce. So their headlines is taking FRC, potentially it's a take over or take under into receivership. That's a nasty move. It's a nasty move for the banks. Let's do a quick check on crypto. Typically crypto has been benefiting. It's got a little uptick, but nothing really crazy there. But we'll see if that breaks the trend in the market. Right now we're still trending to the upside, but we will see if it breaks. So that Russell is going to be the weak link. If there's extra weakness in the banking sector, it will be shown through the Russell ETF. Microsoft, Nvidia is starting to roll over as well. Nvidia is failing to break the previous day high. Bigger sell-off coming in the spiders now. And the Qs. Bigger sell-off. Pinterest is coming back down. So keep Pinterest on the radar for a long trade. First Solar still on watch. Take a look at Microsoft. That's pulled in now. So our last couple short levels. I wish I got that third short level off, but we did not. So again, remember I said if Microsoft goes negative, it would have to hit this line, and it's looking like it wants to. It's looking like it wants to, guys. And Pinterest is coming down, so I like Pinterest for a long trade, guys. I do like Pinterest for a long trade. Alright, I'm going to go long Pinterest if it flushes into this level. So get ready. Be patient with this one. We are coming into this 22, 25, 22 level. I'm going to go a 1/5 position. We're about 15 cents away. Tesla's trying to actually break out, surprisingly. Tesla's putting in a little bit of a flag pattern. Amazon's coming back down. There's still a level on Amazon much lower. Alright guys, Pinterest is coming in pretty closely here. So be on point, be ready. It's a nice heavy technical level on Pinterest. It's a really good spot here on Pinterest, guys. It's coming up. 22.25 or lower. 22.25 or lower. Meta's breaking key support, taking out the low of the day on Meta. They're bouncing pinchers right before. That's too bad. But it should come down. We'll see. It should get another little sell-off. Qs are getting a minor bounce. UNG's still putting in some bullish consolidation. Nice move on AR. So, nice move on AR today. One of our long trades. Microsoft's coming down some more. So regionals have stabilized for now, and they're getting a small bounce. First Solar's trying to come down. First Solar at that gap fill is intriguing. Maybe slight pierce of it, considering it consolidating. Oh, they're bouncing pinches just right ahead of our level. First Solar's still a target. First Solar's still a target. Okay. All right, well, I'm going to wrap up this stream right now because we have closed a couple winners. So basically, we closed 2 Q shorts for winners. We're in the money on UNG with protection in place, so we should bank profits on that. So really, it's 3 for 3, and Microsoft we're slightly out of the money, but I do think that this one's coming in pretty sharply now, and we're just slightly out of the money, and this one's really extended on a technical and a fundamental basis. So thank you all for tuning in. The pins level is still valid around this 22, but I'm going to look for about 30 to 50 cent gain on it. Go lighter share size if you are playing this level, because the markets are looking a little bit more vulnerable at this point in time. On that note, thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you on the charts next week. Will the saying come to fruition? Sell in May, go away, time will tell. Let's see how these markets close. Thanks everybody, take care, and we'll see you on the charts next week.